My name's Ruth Rochelle, and I live in the UK, and I live on a little island called the Isle of Wight, which is off the south coast of the UK. So it's really nice to be with you all. And so I'm curious, is everybody in Cyprus? Yeah, anyone not in Cyprus? Raise your hands if you're not in Cyprus. So we've got Lucy in Bulgaria, because I know where you are. Oh, for an Imbal, you're in the US right now. Everybody else is in Cyprus. So obviously, I speak English like many English people. I'm slightly ashamed to say I don't speak anything else. So if I speak a little too quickly, please feel free to unmute and interrupt me and say, could you say that again? Or what did you say? Or repeat it. Is that okay? And are you understanding me so far? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, good. So I wanted to let you know that Krasimir, who is the wonderful head of Insight in Cyprus, he would like to broadcast this on Facebook. He's not doing it live, but he's going to take the recorded parts of this and broadcast it on Facebook so other people can participate in the workshop. So I wanted to let you know that before we begin. There will be times when I'll invite you to share and share your experience from one of the exercises. And when we do that, we will turn the recording off so that it's private for you to share. And also, there will be a couple of times where you'll be in a breakout room with a partner, and the recording won't be on in the breakout room, so you can speak freely with one another. So I wanted to let you know that as a little bit of logistics. All right, let's get going. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. And here we go. So, Inside Cyprus, create a life you love. Get started now. Here we are, starting. And here's my little start picture, which I drew, by the way. And before we get any further, Insight One is coming up in Cyprus, which is super exciting, and I'm coming to facilitate it. It's on April the 19th to 21st, and it's at the Pefkos Hotel in Limassol. And just to say, the entire Insight One builds the foundation for awakening the power of your heart and discovering what will support you in creating a life you love. So what we're doing here is really a taster and a beginning. So I wanted to quickly ask you, any of you here tonight, have you already taken the seminar? Raise your hands if you've taken Insight. Okay, that's everybody. Everybody in the room has already taken Insight. So was it worth it? Did you enjoy it? Okay. How many of you are going to be involved in this next seminar, like on the assisting team or doing it again or anything? Raise your hands. Okay. Oh, I'm now getting my hand raised. So I'm lifting my hand. Okay, good. So this group, you're really having a refresher. But it may well be that people who are watching on Facebook have not done Insight. So for those of you who see this on Facebook, this is also an invitation to find out more if you're interested, if you like the energy of what we're doing. And we'd love to see you in the Insight One seminar coming up. I'm going to share screen again. So I wanted to share Insight's mission statement, which was said by our founder, John Roger, who is no longer on this earth, but it feels like his spirit of loving seems to continue in our work. He said, Insight is here to assist us in transforming ourselves into loving, so that the greater transformation of the planet to loving will take place. I think this is super profound. What does loving mean? I mean, everybody will have their own definition of this. What I experience loving to be for myself is that core humanity inside my heart that is constant. It doesn't go away. Sometimes I forget it's there. Sometimes I focus on pain or sadness or lack. But as soon as I calm down and relax, or maybe go out for a walk on a sunny day, my heart connects again. The heart is the one that resonates with other people, that wants to give, that wants to share, that wants to express, that wants to shine, that wants to contribute, and probably many, many more things. For me, this mission is so powerful in that when one person really stands forward in their life with authenticity, living according to their own heart's purpose, it's contagious. When somebody shows up being fully alive in their joy and their eyes twinkle and they smile at you and make eye contact, some part of you wakes up and starts to shine too. In the world we live in, there's a lot of reasons not to be in that eye sparkling place. There's a lot of reason to focus on the lack and the fear. And that's why it's even more important, in my opinion, that those of us who are interested in connecting to our hearts, it's crucial that we do that and that we share it and that we live full lives and we share our lives and our lights with other people. For me, that's the essence of insight. And it's super practical, because the way that we live a good life is to live our own life in a good way, in a way that lights us up and fulfills us. So that's very individual. So I wanted to take you through a piece of information and then we're going to explore it together. First of all, a question. Are you living from loving or lack? Take a moment to even consider the question. Are you living your life from loving or from a sense of lack? If you're anything like me, it's probably a combination of that. There are places in my life where I feel very expansive and places in my life where sometimes I'm in my doubt or my lack. So let's take a look at this. Below the line is the land of lack. And when we're in lack, we seem to get smaller, we contract, and we tend to get caught in our habitual way of living. Like we keep doing what we've always done. And a saying in Insight is, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. And so if you want something a little different, it's important to look beyond the habitual and act beyond the habitual. However, when we're in lack, we're often coming from our fear. Think about it. Think about the world right now. How much fear there is in the world. Think about how governments are operating right now, how business is operating, how people are contracting and protecting themselves out of fear that there's not enough, fear about climate change, fear about war, etc. And I'm having an issue with my computer. Just here we go. And another aspect of being in lack is a feeling of doubt. I doubt that there's anything better out there. Self-doubt. I doubt I'm good enough. I doubt I'm going to be okay. We live from our hurt feelings. We live from our limiting beliefs. And in order to not feel the pain of all that, we develop protective behavior, which isn't really effective, but it's what we're familiar with, and it's an illusion of being safe. Now, as you look at all these, it's tempting to say, right, let's change all that. And yet, when we're in it, it just feels like I'm stuck. And we can very easily get into judging ourselves and others and the world, blaming our circumstances, other people, and punishing ourselves and others. So take a moment to just feel into that space of the human condition. And maybe you can consider, is there a place in my life where I do this even a little bit? So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and just ask you maybe to write in the chat so that we're not asking you to voice in front of Facebook. But what are some of the areas in your life where you find yourself living in lack or judging yourself or somebody else or feeling like you can't succeed or you can't have what you want? I'm asking you to type in the chat, and I don't know if you can all write in English. So are there areas, maybe a simpler way of asking this question of, if you write one area in your life where you're aware that you are living somewhat in lack. Relationship. How many of you would say relationships an area where you experience some degree of lack? Business. How about business? My hand's up at the moment. It's tough out there. Love life, family relationships. Yeah. So easy to move into lack. So let me come back now to sharing screen. So I'm going to suggest that the way to address our lack is actually by loving it. And when we love it, we can move into something else. So first of all, let's look at what's above the line. The experience of loving is expansion, stretch, just the ability to go, yeah, I'm gonna do more than I usually do. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to stretch further beyond the boundaries that I previously set myself. That takes courage, takes a sense of purpose, takes intention. We talk a lot about intention and insight. As we have a clear intention, we start to manifest the results. Quite often, though, when we don't have the results we want, we're activating some kind of lack. Playfulness. Some of the qualities of being in that loving, living a loving life, loving our life, is we can get playful, light-hearted. And we're doing stuff. We're not stuck. We're taking action. We're experimenting. Sort of feels a bit more like this. So I'm going to start sharing again. Let's write some more things in the chat. Where is an area in your life where you're living from loving, where you're experimenting, you're pushing the boundaries a bit, you're stretching, taking risks? Would you like to write a few things in? Health, family, business, some of the same topics, different people with the topics, friendships. So great, you know how to do that in some areas. So let me come back. So the ideal is, of course, that we can transform more of this into more of this. And as I just mentioned, the way to do that is loving. Basically, the qualities of forgiving, supporting, rather than blaming and holding back from other people, supporting other people, supporting ourselves and having compassion. So the Insight Seminar has many, many different experiences where we take that leap, where we open our hearts to some of the things that we've judged in the past. And instead of judging more or making them wrong, we just love them. We forgive them. We bring loving to them, much like we would if we had a crying child that was really upset. We'd love them. We'd help to give them confidence, and we'd help to have them reach out. So let me come. Actually, what I'm going to do is go into the next one. I'd like you now to, if you would, just take a moment to reflect inside. So you may want to close your eyes. And certainly if you're listening to this on the recording in Facebook, you'll be able to do this without the fear of anybody looking at your face. And why don't you simply take a breath and let your breath go. Do that again, taking a deep breath and breathe out. And with your third deep breath, focus on your heart in the center of your chest. And imagine that there's a warmth in your heart. Maybe you see it as a light. Maybe you hear it as a sound. And with each breath, breathe in right into the center of your heart. And with each breath out, let that warmth from your heart go to all levels of you, through your body, into your feelings, into your thoughts, and into your life, your relationships, your work, your homes, your friendships, your business, even your pets. And take a moment to, as you're inside with yourself, to reflect on your life and some of the areas, and maybe one in particular, where you are living from loving, at least a lot of the time. And bring to mind a moment recently where you experienced living from loving. So for me, sometimes it would be with my dog, especially when he lies in the sun and he wags his tail, because unusually for the UK, the sun comes out. I have a moment where I'm just full of love, and I usually get down on the floor with him and we have a cuddle and roll about. Where would a place in your life be where you feel like your heart's opening towards it? And from that place, you're able to be expansive. And now I'd like you to scan your life again and pick one area, maybe an area that's important to you, where you would like to be experiencing more loving. You'd like to love that area more. You'd like to be more expansive. But instead of that, you're experiencing a degree of lack. Take a moment, scan your life, and pick one area that's quite important to you. And as you do this, notice how this feels different than the expansive feeling of loving. Notice your body, your posture. What are some of the thoughts and images you have in your mind as you think about this area? How does it feel emotionally as you think of this area? And is all this familiar? Maybe there's a narrative or a story that you repeat in this area. It might be about you personally, or it might be about the world or certain groups of people. So, one of the stories that I tell myself recently is, well, maybe I'm getting too old. And then I can create a story around that, some feelings and energy levels that go with that story. Well, what's your story? The story that you tell yourself about this area of your life. You know, for some people, it might be, well, all men are, or all women are, or because I look this way, or because of this or that. Now imagine for a moment you get a great big dollop of creativity given to you. And that creativity allows you to rewrite the story. What would it be like to rewrite this story? If you could make it however you'd like it. Like mine might begin with, I'm the kind of person that the older I get, the more alive I feel and the more creative I am. And I use my wisdom to express myself more and more fully. It could be something like that. What would your story be if you rewrote it? And if this story were true, what would be possible? What could you do that you can't do now? What could you achieve that you haven't achieved yet? And what would the benefits be, both to you and to other people? Okay. So you might want to take one more deep breath, breathe out again. And whenever you're ready, just open your eyes. And we are going to take some sharing. So we're going to hear from some of you. So, Krasmir, if we can turn off the recording or pause the recording for a while, that would be great. So, in a moment, you are going to go into a breakout room. And welcome back if you're on Facebook. You are also going to be able to go through these questions and maybe you can journal your answers. So the first thing, it's not exactly questions, but statements that you'll finish. So you'll have an opportunity to talk if you're in this workshop now and if you're in a breakout room, to talk to a partner about an important area of your life where you're currently living from lack. And that could be just a tiny bit of lack or a lot. It's like, but there's some way that you feel you're contracted. You're being smaller and more constrained than you'd like to be. So first of all, you identified the area. And then you can share the story you're telling yourself about why you can't do more in that area. Or maybe in the case of the sharing we just had, it might be the story I'm telling myself about why I should do more, because maybe there's nothing to do right now. But it's like identify the story as we've just described. Then you'll be able to talk to your partner about, if I were to rewrite this story, a new expansive story would be. Now, this is not a time to be realistic. This is a time to be expansive, expansive beyond what you're currently doing. So, yeah, just play with this. Be playful, be expansive, make it up. Then, once you've done that, you can consider, if this new expansive story were true, if it were true, we're not saying it is, but if it were, then I would be free to do and be. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. We had some tech issues, so I'm so sorry about that. Uh, it was like it was like a boomerang session. People kept coming back into the main room. So for those of you that did have a partner that you were with for the whole session, that was really lucky. You might have been the only pair, or maybe there were two pairs that had that. So we ended this a little early. So welcome back. I wanted to take some sharing, and if you'd be up for it, and just share anything about your new story that you want to share about us. So particularly the new story and the possibility that if that new story were true, what would that make possible for you? So who would be willing to share? And we'll just stop the recording again for the sharing. Take a moment. Oh, okay. Recording's here. So hello, back to Facebook. Hello. And for all of you here, now we've heard a little bit from some of you about the rewritten story and the positive benefits and the possibility that would be made available if that story were true. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again and take a breath. And as you breathe out, focus once again on your heart. And take a moment to let the warmth in your heart really open. What would it be like to commit to yourself first? What would it be like if you gave yourself a break If you loved yourself unconditionally, even when times are tough, what would it be like if you were your own best friend? What would it be like if your first love was you, so that you were so cared for that as you go into your life, into your business, into your search for a life partner, that when you do that, you don't need it, but you're so radiant that you're irresistible. And not only that, that your radiance ignites the radiance in other people. Maybe we could take a moment to rewrite a collective story here. That it's possible for us to deeply support ourselves. And that the most impactful way for us to live a life we love is to first love ourselves and to support ourselves through every small step. And much like if we were hosting a party, we'd make it fun for our guests. We could do that for ourselves and all the parts of us that have different experiences in life, the parts that doubt, the parts that compare, the parts that judge, the parts that are too tired, the parts that don't know if they can, the parts that are too old or too young. What if we loved them? We loved them so much that they knew they were loved and that they knew they were enough. In life, we often go to the outside world and hope that what's out there will give us what we need to take care of ourselves. What if being committed yourself to yourself starts inside you? Committing to yourself is about how you relate to you. When you relate to yourself as someone worth loving, you'll show up differently out there. The world you create inside you, when it's vibrant and loving, becomes a positive, dynamic relationship with the world out there. And your outer success will reflect your inner well-being. So take a moment just now. Maybe you put your hands on your heart to send the warmth of loving into your inner world. And through that warmth of loving, bring reassurance to all parts of yourself. Bring playfulness to all parts of yourself. Courage support, a sense of fun, and a sense of companionship. So that when you go out into your life, creating more of what you want, you're doing it with a full inner support. So take a deep breath into your heart and let that heart fill you. And as you breathe out, send that sense of inner well-being out into your life. And then when you're ready, you can take another breath, and as you breathe out, you can come back, open your eyes. And I just want to sum up what we just did. So basically, committing to yourself first is the way to create a life you love. And as I said in that guided imagery, we often focus on what's out there in order to feel good. But being committed to yourself starts in here, inside us. Can you imagine if you committed to yourself 100%? Like, we commit to so much out there, even stuff like, all the things online that we have to click, click the link on agreeing to terms and conditions. We don't even think about it. But when it comes to committing to ourselves, we often don't do that. What if we did? What if we related to ourselves with love, with honor, with respect, with genuine interest? And when you relate to yourself as someone worth loving, you'll show up differently out there. It'll show, you'll sparkle, you'll be radiant. There's a dynamic, positive relationship between in here and out there. By the way, that works both ways. If we're in contraction, we send that message out into our lives. But if we're really taking care of ourselves from the inside out, people are going to get that. They'll be attracted to it. And so your outer success will reflect your inner well-being. So we just reflected on that. But just now, what I'd like to do is take the reflection a step further and consider that after today, you do have the opportunity to take a next step with that new story, that expanded story that you told. So I'm curious, what small action or practice can you agree with yourself to do as a step towards committing to yourself first? So this would be a really tiny step, a micro step. There's a lot of science these days that has been shown, like science shows us evidence that tiny steps, especially when done consistently, are much more effective at ensuring change, manifesting change and expansion than a great big huge action. So what's a tiny step so small that it's difficult not to do? What could you do? Maybe imagine yourself doing some small thing different. It could be as simple as when you get out of bed, that you stand up really tall and stretch, take a breath and say, yes, it's a new day. That would be an example of a tiny step. So pick one now and visualize yourself doing it, whatever it is, and doing it as a step towards the life that you want to love. Actually, I've got one more. I'll just, if you want to take another breath and open your eyes, I'll take you through that again. And this time I'd like you to be more like uh, cognitive about this. So really be aware, because I'm going to invite you to commit to something now. So I'll ask you the questions again, and maybe you have a notebook near you or something you can write on, or even on your computer. What small action or practice can you agree to do as a step towards committing to yourself first? A micro step, a tiny step, so small it's difficult not to do. What would that be? What would you be willing to commit to? Something that you can do in this coming week. And something you're excited about. You wouldn't want to be doing something that you're not excited about, because that wouldn't actually grow the energy of expansion. So what would it be? So we're going to hear from people, some of the steps. We'll hear from a few of you, and we'll take the recording off. But if you're on Facebook, you can write down the thing that you're prepared to commit to. So let's take the recording off for a moment. Can we stop them? So we've heard from quite a few of you now on the small, tiny steps, the micro steps you're going to take this week. And for those of you who didn't share, and those of you on Facebook that we didn't hear from, let's just send a lot of warmth, a lot of all of our energy towards all those steps that everyone's going to take. And our hearts can do that. Our hearts can send that energy out. So take a moment to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out to all the people taking tiny steps towards living a life they love. And I wanted to just remind you that Insight One, Awakening the Power of Your Heart, is coming to Cyprus on the 19th to 24th, 19th to 21st of April. And we'd love to see you there. And that's really how I wanted to end. Insight for me is one of the best things in my life, and I personally participated in my own Insight One in June 1979, which is unreal. Many of you weren't even born then, but I still recall that seminar and some of what I learned in that seminar, and I still use it today. Some exact words that I heard the facilitator say, I still use today. And some of the experiences and the awarenesses that I had, I'm still building on. It's so worth it. So I hope that you take the plunge, come and see us, come and join us. And I think we're pretty much out of time, perhaps a couple of minutes over. So I'm not jumping off immediately, but if anybody needs to go, we're kind of up on our time. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and I hope to meet many of you in person in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks.